Thank you very much. And I'm going to try and be brief, of course, and just give you a little bit of insight into my research, my career, and how it's dovetailed with the NIHR. So very quickly, my research, as has already been said, focuses on common aches and pains, the common musculoskeletal problems of back pain, shoulder pain, osteoarthritis. And these are the most common and costly conditions in terms of their impact on individuals, on families, on the NHS, and more broadly, through particularly days lost from work, on our society. The burden of these problems is rising, but at the same time, our health services are under financial pressures with real expectations of cost savings. So my research is very much focused on the primary care and community management of these conditions. And I've been trying to support a shift away from a very biomedical pathology focus on these conditions to a much broader patient-focused model of care, including a biopsychosocial approach that addresses the pain, but at the same time helps patients with disability, work loss, physical and psychological morbidity. So it's very much an applied research programme, and a lot of my research is about developing, testing and implementing new treatments or new models of service for these patients. And I want to give you one example, and that's the work that we've been doing on matching patients to treatment or stratified care. And about 5 years ago, when I first applied for the NIHR research professorship, we had just been developing this model of stratified care, allocating patients to 3 groups based on their prognosis or their risk of persistent pain and disability, so low, medium and high risk, and then matching patient subgroups up to match treatments that are appropriate to their needs. And back then, about 4 or 5 years ago, we'd just published a proof of principle randomized control trial showing the clinical and cost benefits of this new way of working. And then very shortly after that, we provided a study in everyday clinical practice in primary care showing we could implement this approach. But really importantly, not only could we implement it, but it had health economic benefits. So our health economic analysis showed that this new way of working was not only cost effective, but it led to important improvements in patients' outcomes. And it is what we call, for those of you familiar with those cost utility planes, a dominant treatment strategy, meaning that it's good for patients, but it's also good for the NHS. And it's great to see that the new NICE guidelines that are just out for consultation for back pain are considering recommending this approach for primary care. And I'm giving you this example because there's no doubt in my mind that the NIHR has directly and beneficially impacted on this research field and specifically on my career. And this next slide really just tells you a little bit about the story of the NIHR with my career. And what I've tried to do is show the difference that the NIHR has made to my career. And it's going to summarise some things just by colour. So in blue is NIHR funding, and in green is funding for research from other sources. And so if I just give you the last 12 years of my career, you can see that I had a Primary Care Career Scientist Award, and that predated the NIHR, but then came under the NIHR umbrella from 2006 onwards. I then had a period of time through funding elsewhere before coming back to the NIHR in 2012 through the research professorship. But if I just bring into the picture the research grants, I guess this slide really tells you the story of the impact the NIHR has made on my career and on this research field. Prior to the NIHR, there were very few research funders with the ability to provide research funding at a level that could make a real step change in this field. And the predominance of blue grants on this slide is really clear. These are NIHR grants, including the Research for Patient Benefits Scheme, the Programme Grants for Applied Research Scheme, the HTA Programme, and the NIHR School for Primary Care Research. And this research has really fueled a step change, both in my career, but also, very importantly, in this field of research for patients and the NHS. And if I pick up on that earlier example of stratified care, of course, one of the really important things the NIHR funding has allowed me to do is to have funding for a team of people to be able to then develop that work further. And using support from the research professorship and support from the Arthritis Research UK Centre of Excellence grant, I've been able to then take that work further, underpin some development work in order to move forward with the new NIHR programme grant to extend that model of stratified care for many other patients. I'd like to also just say a few words about the NIHR research professorships. This scheme started in 2012, and it was really around the vision to provide a 5-year dedicated period for the next, I guess, cadre of research leaders to really strengthen research leadership and build more capacity and capability within the NIHR. And so far there have been 27 awards, 10 women, 17 men, 5 to non-medical disciplines, 22 to our medical colleagues, and of course that's within a much wider context of many more NIHR trainees. And if I very briefly show you the map of where those NIHR professors are based, this is round 1 of 8 professors, and you can see me in the North West Midlands at Keele University in North Staffordshire. Round 2, round 3, round 4 and round 5. And what's really clear in the pattern is that most of the award holders are in the academic powerhouses of London and Oxbridge. So I'm standing here as a woman, a non-medic, and an academic from an institution not in the triangle of London and Oxbridge. And I feel very privileged to be standing here. There's no doubt in my mind that the Research Professorship Award has significantly helped to increase the visibility of the research that I do for patients. And of course, I'm a physiotherapist, and so it's also really increased the visibility of the contribution of physiotherapy, which of course I think is a very good thing. So I want to say a personal thanks to the NIHR for seeing the research that I do as important. And I will just finish by, of course, saying something that I imagine lots of NIHR trainees would also like to say if they were here, which is that I want to highlight that, like many others whose careers and research have been transformed by the NIHR, that I have been and still am very committed to supporting the NIHR and shaping its future. And what I will do is just leave on this slide some of the hats or the roles that I currently have or have recently had that demonstrate the ongoing commitment that many of us feel as trainees to ensuring that the NIHR continues to grow and to succeed in delivering the best quality research for the NHS and for patients. Thank you for your attention.